What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Appreciate you tuning in. So in this video, we're going to talk about the biggest cold email mistakes you're probably making right now. And why do I suggest this? Well, it's because these are the mistakes that I was making and sometimes still make. So we're going to go through this cold email money printer. If you address these mistakes, if you find yourself making these mistakes, I will show you how to address them as we go. We'll talk about mistakes you might be making with how you read the analytics of your cold emails, how you've set up your infrastructure, your offer. We'll go down to the nitty-gritty, and the structure of your offer will go into the lead list and how you scrape and how you clean and enrich data. We'll talk about the copy. We'll talk about the campaign management. We'll talk about the success multipliers that'll actually get you results. We'll talk about sales calls. So we'll do the whole thing. Why? Because, well, we need all of these things. We need all of these things to work in unison in order for your campaigns to start printing money. And when I first started cold email just a few months ago, I was only focused on writing really good copy. And so what happens was I would take templates from people and then they wouldn't work. And then I realized that I had to get good at targeting. And then I realized my offer sucked. Like this was on point. I knew exactly who I was reaching out to, and I can get inside their mind, and I could write good copy, somewhat good copy. And perhaps I was good at replying, and I did all this pre-launch stuff, and I checked everything off, but my offer wasn't great. And that all counts. All this stuff makes up a cold email. The cold email is just the surface level manifestation of all these things put together. But it's all the work that you do up front leading up to that determines the success of the cold email and of your campaign. So that's why all this stuff is connected with arrows, why I continue to add to it pretty much in every video I put out, because I'm learning as I go, and these are just my notes. And the purpose of this is that you can go back to all these things. If your emails aren't working, your campaigns aren't working, just go back to this tree, this diagram, and go to each vertical. So offer, lead list, copy, analytics, so on and so forth, and just check off each box as you go. Am I doing this? Yes. Am I doing this? Yes. Right? Is the offer value obvious? Yes. Am I targeting the right people? Yes. Have I done this? Yes. Right? So that's why this has been so great and so powerful for me. This is not something I sell. I don't sell courses or anything like that. I'm just documenting how I'm building my business in real time, all the mistakes and all the wins, so that hopefully you might be able to learn from this as well. Anyway, the biggest cold email mistakes you are probably making right now. The first place I want to start is, let's just go along the tree. I'll do analytics closer to the end, because that's assuming that you've launched the campaign and there's stuff that you got to do leading up to the campaign. By the way, I came from I have every other video of mine is a case study, an internal case study. And I come from running campaigns with like 0.2 or 0.4% reply rates, like really, really bad campaigns. So trust me, if you feel stuck in cold email right now, if your cold emails aren't working, I've been there, and I was probably a lot worse than you. And with the things I'm about to tell you, I managed to turn that around in about a month and a half, and start having cold email campaigns that work consistently. Anyway, let's get into it. First off, let me just double check I'm recording. Test 1 2 3. There we go. Yes, it is recording. All right, good. Infrastructure is the entire setup, right? So the inboxes, the domains, the platform you use to send the emails, all that stuff. That's all it's like the setup. It's the setup, not necessarily the tech stack, because then we're getting into things like Apollo and how you scrape and stuff like that. We're just talking about the infrastructure of your inboxes, your domains, and that kind of stuff, right? So this is very standard, but I'll tell you where people tend to make mistakes, okay? So first off, the reseller you use. People tend to be like, oh, I only use Google or I only use Outlook. I promise you, they both have their ups and downs. They both have their ups and downs. Google might be bad this week and great next week. Vice versa for Outlook and Microsoft and Azure. Diversify. Don't go all in on one. Don't go all in on Google. Don't go all in on Outlook. Don't go all in with one reseller. If you're going to pick a reseller, so you're going to get your inboxes from other than google.com, like googleworkspace.com and office365.com. Make sure you're using a premium reseller, so a notable reseller, a little bit pricier, so we're looking at about $3.50 per inbox, in that range. Don't cheap out on this stuff. It's not going to work out well. It's going to cost you a lot more in the long run. Some notable resellers are that I've used and can vouch for: Scaled Mail, which we use right now; Premium Inboxes, which I've used in the past. Those two have been my favorites so far. We're currently trying out AeroSend, and I'm excited to start sending with them, but we're currently in our warm-up period, so I have no data yet. But I'm sure it'll be fine. So neither is better than the other. Too many people put all their eggs in one basket. Only Google, only Outlook, only Premium Inboxes, only Scaled Mail, only Hypertide, only whatever it might be. Diversify. That's the first mistake. Right? The second, and I should add this to the tree. The second thing people do is they don't have backups, and this is fine if you can't afford it. You can get away with this. Keep 20 to 30% of your inboxes on reserve warm up. So having spare inboxes is super key. I very recently started doing this, like very, very recently. So I don't fault you if you don't do this yet, or if you can't afford it, because it does cost money. It may be double your budget, but it will allow you to, continue going if something happens with your current setup, which something will happen. I promise you, it will happen. I gotta sneeze. Hold on. Let me pause the video. Something will happen, unfortunately, and if you can put yourself in a position as quickly as possible to have backups, you're gonna be a lot better off. Because here's what happened for me. After I ran my first few campaigns in May of 2025, my campaigns were so bad because I didn't know any of the stuff that I'm talking to you about in this video. I didn't know what I was doing at all. I didn't know any of this stuff. Nothing. And so what happened was my campaigns were so badly executed, so poorly written. The copy, the offer was trash. The lead list was a mess. The targeting was bad. I didn't know how to read the analytics. I didn't know anything about success multipliers or campaign management or anything like this. And so what happened was it just killed my deliverability. I bet people were just hitting spam left and right. Killed our deliverability, and my inbox is burnt. And I have a graph. I tracked this in Airtable. The graph. So the first campaign was like 0.9% reply rate, then it was like 0.6, and then down and down and down. It just plummeted. No matter what I did with the copy, with the lead list, the reply rates, the performance of of each campaign that followed just tanked. Just tanked within about a week and a half, if not 2 weeks. So what I had to do was I had to pause everything to buy new inboxes. Even though I had diversified my inboxes, the campaign was just so bad. So I had inboxes with Inboxology, which is got Microsoft inboxes with Inboxology, and Google Workspace inboxes with Premium Inboxes, and it wasn't their fault. Both great service and resellers, but my copy and all that other stuff was so bad my inboxes burnt, and I didn't have any on reserve. So I had to buy new inboxes and wait 2 weeks. I had to wait 2 weeks, this 2-week warm up, and so I was stuck. So I couldn't get any leads for 2 weeks, and it was just slow, no money being made. So if you can afford to get backup inboxes, please do. You don't have to get, if you have 10 or 20 inboxes right now, you don't have to get another 20, but just get 30% more. So maybe get six more, and you just rotate them if you can, and that's a topic for another day. I'm still new to that. The next thing, funny enough, I think the biggest mistake people make, especially at the start, is not sending enough emails. Either they send too many emails to the wrong people, so that's why their inbox is burnt. That's exactly what happened to me. I sent too many emails with the bad offer, poorly written copy to the wrong people, so obviously they just hit spam, or just didn't even go through the spam filters, or they have everything down pat, but they just don't send enough emails. So regardless, I would recommend you get the infrastructure necessary to start sending 1,000 emails per day. Reason why I say that is because the more you send, the more you will learn, and the faster you will learn. Yeah, your inboxes might burn, your domains might get blacklisted, but you learn a lot faster because you get data a lot faster. You learn a lot more, a lot faster about what works, what doesn't work. I think the fastest way to get anywhere is to start sending 1,000 emails per day. I'm not going to comment on what your infrastructure should look like in terms of 2 inboxes per domain or 3 inboxes per domain. You'd be fine with either of those two. I do use, with AeroSend, I have 3 inboxes per domain. With Scaled Mail, it's 49 inboxes per domain, but I send 5 emails per inbox per day. So different setups can work. But long story short, however you have it arranged and set up, you should be sending 1,000 emails per day, which means you're going to have to start scraping more leads more frequently or in bigger batches. But this is really important. The 1,000 emails per day is when you really start to accelerate your progress. This is when things start to take a 180 for us. Because I could document all the things that were going right and going wrong. So 1,000 emails per day. If anything from the infrastructure that you're probably not going to do right, it's these two right here. It's not sending enough emails to the right people and not having backup inboxes. I don't like to send any emails as my stuff is warming up, to be honest. I just don't. So I wait the 2-week warm up and don't skip it. Diversify your inboxes. I don't like pre-warmed inboxes. I just don't. I have my own. So I just don't, because and I'm just going to be totally honest. I bought pre-warmed inboxes from Puzzle Inbox. I've done it maybe 2 or 3 times, and I've never actually gone ahead and sent emails from those. But I did notice that on 2 occasions, specifically the last occasion, which is why I stopped buying pre-warmed inboxes. And this may not be the case with Instantly, but at least for Puzzle Inbox, the inboxes were bad. They were obviously used a lot, and they had been going to spam. Because when they set them up in SmartLead for me, it was so the warm-up health was 50%, 60% on a lot of those. I have screenshots, actually. I sent them to the Puzzle Inbox guys via WhatsApp, because that's how they do support, which is fine. But long story short, you just don't know how these pre-warmed inboxes have been used, but they've probably been used, and most people suck at sending cold emails. So now you're getting hand-me-down inboxes that have already been ruined or burnt or blacklisted or have a bad reputation. I'd rather just buy my own, right? I'd rather just buy my own backup inboxes. You can give them generic names and domains, as I did. So it could be David at sunnybrookgroup.com. Completely separate from my business, Ventiscale. Right? And then you can use those in the signature. You just put the company name, and you can put formerly known as blank if you want, but you'll be fine. But that's what I would do. I don't use pre-warmed inboxes. Don't use pre-warmed inboxes. So premium resellers, not sending enough emails, backup inboxes. That's 3 or 4 mistakes. It's 3 or 4 mistakes. I should start marking this down here. Hold on. Where is my... Oh, I'm in presentation mode. Okay. So not diversifying, not sending enough emails, not having backup inboxes. Those are the 3 major ones in infrastructure. All right. Let's see if I miss anything here. I'm gonna write this down as I go, so I don't forget. Infra, we got 3. Looks good. Cool. Now let's move on. Offer. So your offer will make or break your campaign, provided everything else is at least 80% correct. The single biggest mistake that I made, and that now I see other people making, is they don't have a good offer. Specifically, is they try and pitch a recurring service through cold outbound rather than an intro offer. So what do I mean by that? Well, think about it this way. A recurring service is, I'll help you get 5 people a month, guaranteed, or your money back. Like we're pushing for a ongoing retainer. It's like the SMMA Facebook ads traditional offer, right? Like I'll run your Facebook ads for $2,000 a month, and if I don't get you whatever, you don't pay. So we're proposing a monthly ongoing service. The reason why you can sell it, but the reason why it's tougher to sell is because, there we go. So here it is. So the reason why that's tougher to sell is because they don't know you. They don't know you. Most people don't have any sort of social proof on the internet. And now you are proposing the idea of working together with me, for example, on like an ongoing contract, or month. Even if it's month by month contract, it's still just the idea of an ongoing service is tougher to sell than a one-time thing. That one-time thing is what's known as an intro offer. That ongoing offer is known as a recurring service, aka retainer. And it's tougher to sell because it requires a lot more trust. And unless you have all your success multipliers down pat, so when someone Googles you, they can immediately take their trust level to a 7 out of 10 and book a call, well, then you're going to have a really hard time selling that recurring service. And you can do it. You're going to have to send a lot more emails and be a lot more precise about targeting, and your copy is going to have to be stellar. An intro offer is a one-time thing. Hey, I'll charge you $3,000 to set up your website. And if it doesn't work better than your current website, you don't pay. Kind of thing. That's an intro offer. That's an intro offer. So that's the number one mistake I see people make with their offer. Because nowadays, especially in lead generation, most offers have been done before and they're not novel. They're not this totally new thing. So you can usually just get away with copying someone's offer. Just take what already works. That's probably the smartest way to start out. If you're just starting out, just don't try and reinvent the wheel. Take and model an offer that already works. But you should also chop it in half and take just the intro version of that offer, especially if you're a nobody yet. And I'm still, at the time of recording this video, July 13th, 2025, I'm a nobody in this space. I'm a nobody in this space. Hence why I'm putting out content every day. So that's the number one thing. The number one mistake I see people make with offers, and that I was making up until very recently, and this is starting to really help my business, this intro offer. Anything else with offers here? Yes. So in the email, and this is we'll talk about this more in the copy section, but in the email, most people don't communicate this stuff, the components of the offer. So the offer statement itself is very weak. The offer statement itself is very weak. So the offer statement is that line in your copy and I should probably save this for the copy section, where it's like, where we help X company, so we help oil and gas companies or whatever it is, like we help dentists achieve Y results, so double their revenue in 30 days. That's the offer statement. In that offer statement, a big mistake people make, that I used to make, that when I stopped making, changed everything for the better, was most people don't communicate how the offer removes risk, how we make it easy on the client, how there's a fast turnaround of results, and make the value obvious. They don't do this stuff. They don't do this stuff. And we'll talk about this again more in the copy, but you have to make this stuff obvious in your offer statement. So for example, like one really bad template that I broke down in literally the video before this, where I was like, give me 50, the title's like, give me 55 minutes and I'll make you a top 0.1% copywriter. The thing that I did in my worst ever one of my worst performing campaigns, where I was like, we help companies fill their calendars up with qualified prospects. Nowhere in that line, in that offer line, did I say how it removes risk. I didn't mention a performance basis, so that there's a money back guarantee. I didn't mention that we do it done for you, or we do it automatically for them, or that it gets done on autopilot. We fill their calendar up with qualified prospects on autopilot. I wasn't specific about who it helps. I didn't give it a time frame. I didn't make the value obvious, right? Because like, yeah, I said fill your calendar up with qualified prospects, but with what kind of qualified prospects? Qualified who? Like qualified healthcare execs? Like qualified dentists? Qualified who? Right? Qualified venture capital executives. So the value often isn't as obvious as you think it is. So when it comes to offers, they're usually missing one of these things. Or they have it, but they're not communicating it. Perhaps in another video, we will talk about intro offers versus recurring services. But right now, there are other videos on the internet that can talk about that better than I can. And let's just focus on this in this video. Here's another mistake, and I already mentioned this, but I want to shout it out. So it's going to be 3 mistakes under offer. People try and reinvent the wheel with their offer. They try and make up some totally new offer instead of just picking something that already works and starting to, and gaining momentum from that. If you want to make a new offer, take an offer that already works and then make it even more of a no-brainer. Take an offer that already works and then enhance this section right here, the removes risk section. That's how you make a new offer. That's how you make a new offer. And that's how I made my intro offer. Is I took an offer that already works, and I'm just like, well, you know what? I'm just going to, instead of pitching a monthly ongoing service, it's going to be a one-time thing, and it's going to have a money-back guarantee. And even better than that, we'll put it in a legally binding contract. And even better than that, we'll do it in 35 days. And even better than that, so on and so forth, right? So I just went through all these different things, these different sections, and just checked it off. Check, 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 check. So pick an offer that's proven to work already. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. And if you want to reinvent the wheel, pick an offer that's proven to work already. And then just double down on one of these 4 categories. Ideally, removes risk, or makes it easier, or it makes it faster, or you make the value more obvious. Even just in the way you say it. Even in just the way the offer is communicated. The offer can be the same, but it's just communicated differently. And that'll take you a lot further. Now let's talk about targeting and leads, because this is probably where people are going to make most of the mistakes. If you're having issues with cold email, I'd be willing to bet it's either in your offer The problem's either in your offer or in your targeting, and most likely your targeting. I'd put my money on targeting. It's because people think they do this well, but they don't. You don't know what you don't know, so it's fine. But when I look back on my old targeting, I'm like, whoa, what was I thinking? The issue's usually not in the copy, because the copy, you just model a template from something that already works, but it's hard to adapt the copy and to your niche, your campaign, and make it work because the targeting is all messed up. The offer doesn't work because the targeting is all messed up, right? The campaign management doesn't really matter because the targeting is messed up. The success multipliers really don't count for much. The sales calls, I mean, you're probably not even getting any sales calls, or they're just sales calls where you have no idea what you're talking about because your targeting is messed up. You ended up running a campaign for some niche you had no business being in. And so now people are just marking your stuff as spam because your emails are not relevant because you have no idea what you're talking about. So now your infrastructure is messed up. And then now your analytics are all messed up and they're thrown out of whack. And you don't know what to make of this whole thing. So you end up just throwing all the inboxes away and starting from scratch, which is exactly what happened to me in that order. So anyway, let's dive into targeting so that we don't make any of these mistakes ever again, or at least not to the degree that we were making them before. So I would say one of the biggest mistakes that stops you from even having a fighting chance at having a winning campaign is operating in a niche where you have no idea what you're doing. I solved 80% of my problems, if not more, just by picking a niche that I could speak the language of. Picking a niche that I knew well, that I had work experience in. And this is the trap that a lot of beginners fall into because they're just chasing the money. They join some school community or some Facebook group and they saw someone saying, oh yeah, I just closed a client, or I just booked 5 meetings in the oil and gas tech niche. And so everyone goes for that niche now. You go for that niche and you have no idea what you're talking about when you get on the phone with the person, or even you don't even have the capability to know if your email copy makes sense or not. You don't have the capacity, even with AI, if you use that, to personalize your emails to the right degree in order to, number one, evoke emotion in the person, number 2, to generate a positive response, and number 3, to follow up from there and get them on a call, and then number 4, to close the call. You just don't. You don't. And if you're going to operate in a niche, if you're going to run a campaign for a niche that you have no idea what you're doing, at least take an hour or so, or a couple hours, just to do some research. And I say all this and I'm passionate about this because I did not do that. If you watch the last video I put up right before this one about being a top 0.1% copywriter, I went over one of my worst performing pieces of copy, and one of the major reasons for it performing so poorly was because I was operating in telemedicine. I ran a campaign in the telemedicine niche and I had no idea what I was doing. None. No idea. B2B SaaS, you think you know B2B SaaS, but you probably don't. You think you do, but you probably don't know enough to impress anybody on the other end. So, operate in a language, and let me write this down. Operate in a niche, not a language, in a niche where you know what you're talking about, or you can at least speak the language at a conversational level. So I'm not a bookkeeper, but I did go to school for accounting and finance, so I can speak the language. I can't speak advanced accounting principles and tactics, but I can talk about taxes, right? I understand what a balance sheet is, and I understand what a cash flow statement is, an income statement. I understand that stuff. I don't need to know how to put one together, but I can read one. I know what an asset and a liability is, right? So think about that stuff, because it probably goes a lot deeper than you expect it will. You expect it to, excuse me. And this stuff is important because you need to get them at least to a 7 out of 10 for them to even book a call, right? And then an 8 out of 10 on the trust scale for them to close when you're on the call. And most people can't do that. They just can't. So that's the first mistake people make. It's just going down the tree here, is they pick a niche that they don't know well enough. Second, they underestimate how much each filter in Apollo or Sales Navigator or whatever you use to get data, Clay, they underestimate how much each filter affects their data pool and how much it sways their data pool. What do I mean by that? Let me explain. This is starting to bother me. Hold on. Let me put that there. Put that there. Put that there. So all of this works together, which is why it's all connected with arrows. Let me break this down. The geography you're targeting affects your campaign because different people have different customs, cultures, they speak differently, they have different slang or whatever it is, they have different laws. All this stuff matters, and you have to think about all this stuff. Time zones as to when they'll receive the email, right? How receptive they are to cold emails or cold calls. All that stuff matters. So I like to keep it simple, and I just stick to the US. Next is, and this is probably, so we talked about industry enough. Niche, right? I'll get back to that in a second, because sub niche is something I'm going to talk about. That's another mistake people make. But employee size, head count of the company. They either make the mistake of targeting a company that has no money, so it's too small, or they target a company that's too big with the wrong offer. Or they make the mistake of targeting a bunch of different companies between 1 and 500 employees, like I did, and sending the same campaign to all of those companies. Right? So that's like 3 different mistakes in one. So let's list this out. So they target too small of companies that have no money, and you don't qualify properly. The next thing they do is they target too large of companies. They target like Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley, which, if you're not like a cold email, like you're at the top of the lead gen game, which I'm not, you're not getting an answer from Morgan Stanley. You're probably not. Probably. Anything's possible, but probably not. So they target too big of companies. Like people send emails to Walmart or Google or whatever it might be, just because Google's in B2B SaaS. Or, and this is the biggest mistake when it comes to headcount within targeting, and this is exactly what I did, which caused my inboxes to burn, is they target companies in with huge ranges of employee headcount. So 1 to 200 employees, or 1 to 100 employees. Like, those are very different companies with very different priorities and very different job titles you should be targeting. And they send campaigns to the same copy in the same campaign to all those companies. So that was like 3 mistakes in one. That's like 3 mistakes in one. And then another mistake that they make, right? So far we're at 5 for lead list building and targeting. Another mistake people make is, this is officially mistake number 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is mistake number 12. Yeah. The 12th mistake people make is they don't target the right title based on the head count. So they are emailing a company of, let's say, 10 employees, but they're targeting the marketing manager or the VP or the director. if there even is one in a company with 10 employees. Or they're targeting a company with 500 employees or 1,000 employees, like a Goldman Sachs or a Walmart or a Google or VaynerMedia, and they're targeting the CEO. Now, just ask yourself if you think that person, first off, has the time of day for you. They usually have an EA at that point, an executive assistant. And second, like, can you even relate to their pain points and what their priorities would be? Right? And you're sending the offer. You're sending an offer to people who are so beyond, their company is so beyond what you can offer right now. So like the whole lead gen, like I'll get you 5 leads a month or you don't pay. To a company of 500 employees, they're probably getting 5 meetings every morning per department, per office, right? So your 5 appointments means nothing. Why would they sit down with you on a 30-minute Zoom call and negotiate and read your proposal? All for that? No, not worth it. There are other things that they care about, which I won't talk about in this video, because I don't target big companies. I just don't. I'm not there yet personally, and I'm honest about that at the time of recording this video. I target boutique companies and smaller firms, regardless if they make 50 million a year or they make 50,000 a year. Well, first off, they have to have the money to pay me, but the head count, you usually can predict the kind of stage they're in with their company pretty easily. Whether it's a 10-person company that's been around since the late 90s, they're probably in like a stable stage, a mature phase. 10 employees or 5 employees founded in the last couple of years, last few years, they're in a growth phase. Now I can tailor my copy appropriately. And we'll talk about that in a moment. So that was a bunch of mistakes. Now, industry, we're going to go back to this. There's going to be another mistake. So this is 3, 6, 11, 12, 13. This is number 13 now. So we talked about operating in a niche where you have no idea what you're talking about or what's happening. Another mistake people make is they go to an industry that is too broad. So they'll go to B2B SaaS. And I literally have a campaign like this. I have the screenshot. I scraped all the B2B companies. This costed me like $30 or $40 to scrape. It was insanely expensive. If you consider you pay about $1 or $1.20 per 1,000 leads. I scraped every B2B SaaS company in the United States doing over X amount of revenue, like between, let's say, $300,000 a year and $1 million a year in revenue. Under 250 employees or under 500 employees. I don't remember. I think it was under 250 employees. So you tell me what offer works for, like what singular offer would work for all those companies. Which offer would make sense for all of those companies? If it's not like duct cleaning, or like, which wouldn't even make sense because some of the smaller companies wouldn't even have offices. But like not lead generation and not specifically like 5 meetings a month or whatever I was pitching at that point. And so people go too broad and they don't think deeply enough about the sub niche. Or what they'll do, and this is what I ended up doing as well, is they end up targeting a niche that is too narrow. So that's another mistake. They target a niche that is too narrow. So I started going to the other extreme. And I started targeting niches where it's like legal tech. I asked ChatGPT to generate a bunch of sub niches for me for B2B SaaS, and it came up with legal tech, vet tech, fintech, all this tech. So software for law firms or software for veterinarians. There are only so many companies that make those in the United States. There's like maybe a couple thousand, a few thousand. And I ran through them in like one test campaign. I ran through a sizable bunch of legal tech and construction tech. I don't even think I sent to vet tech. There's probably like 500 of those, 500 contacts in the whole United States. So even if that campaign did excellent, there'd be no way to scale it from that. I wouldn't have been able to repeat those results. So pick a general niche, go one sub niche down. If it's B2B SaaS, maybe you go 2 sub niches down. Maybe. But make sure you don't go too far down. Sub niche though. Sub niche is important because that really affects your copy. So let's proceed. We're still in the lead list targeting building. I think people verify their emails rather well. Like, that's pretty straightforward. Another mistake people make is they don't check their work. Like, you think that's obvious. You think that'd be obvious and it would go without saying, but it doesn't. Why? Because in my last video, I was reviewing a terrible piece of copy and I had mistakes in there. I had typos, which isn't the end of the world. Sometimes I purposely put typos in, but the company names weren't cleaned properly. So in that piece of copy that I went through, and let me see if I have it here. I probably deleted it. Yeah, I deleted it. It said something LLC. And you think you know by now, like you think that's obvious, and sure, maybe you're doing it, but are you spot checking? So are you randomly going to contact number 439 and just seeing their company name? Or before you hit launch campaign in Smart Lead or Instantly, are you taking about 10 or 15 random ones and just previewing and checking to see if there's double spacing or anything like that? Spot check things. You'd be surprised. A lot of people don't spot check their emails. And I say this, I know this because, well, I've done it myself. Now, personalization, I don't think, I'm going to leave this one out for now because personalization is kind of an art form. But I think a mistake people make is hyper-personalizing things. So the copy that I was referring to, I should just grab the screenshot. I don't know why I deleted it. Oh well. Anyway, so that really bad piece of copy, just go to my last video, the one right before this. I had a line where it was like, "Hey George, congratulations on the impressive success with your Intel platform. With the rising demand of mobile connectivity, your insights are truly remarkable." Some weird personalization, because what I had done as a total green noob rookie was I scraped the website using Exa, and then I just took that information and I put it into ChatGPT and I said, hey, the prompt was like, hey, make up some super hyper personalized thing and with a congratulations line or something like that, like something super specific. And that it gets to a point. Like, it gets to a point where it's so specific it's weird. And it's so specific it's not normal. And if you want cold outbound to work, if you want your cold emails to work, your email has to be similar to what you would say to someone on the street, or if you were doing door-to-door sales. That is cold. It's cold. That's about how much time you have. It's the same type of energy and tone you should have. That's personalization. Now, personalization is an art. There's a lot of ways to do things and to not do things, so I'm going to leave that alone. But that's one mistake I see a lot of people make, is they over personalize. Like, they put their ChatGPT prompt something to the effect of, hey, go through the website summary and find out statistics or pull out any numbers there, any accomplishments, and they'll write their email and say, hey George, saw that you improved your metrics by 4.37% on the website. Congratulations. Is that that does nothing. It does nothing. it would probably weird me out if that's the thing you would congratulate me on. Instead, you may frame it as, hey, was on your website and or you put in the PS line, like, was on your website, was scrolling through your website and saw you improved your conversion rate by 4.38%. Impressive. Like, you can phrase it like that, but don't do like, with the rising demand in mobile connectivity, your Intel platform is well worth the demand for the rising mobile connectivity platform, and your insights are incredible. Because I was going overboard at that point, and don't do that, because a lot of people do that, and you think it's impressive, and that it's going to come across as, oh, this person did their research on me. It doesn't. It just screams like AI. It screams AI. All right, so those are the major things for lead list. If you don't do any of those things, then you will be fine. Before I forget, I'm gonna add something to campaign management. Before I forget, I'm gonna add something to campaign management so I can come back to this. I'm gonna paste it here, and because I made this mistake very recently. So as you can see, I'm adding as I go. Oh, oops. And we are going to connect this way. So this is exactly how I build a tree. You note, if you've been watching my videos, you notice this tree gets bigger and bigger with every video. There's a reason why, because I keep making mistakes, but thankfully I keep learning from them. So that's that. Copy, everyone's favorite part of cold email. Let's talk about the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to their email copy. So when it comes to your email copy, if you've done everything right leading up to this, specifically the targeting, and you're coming with the right offer to the right people, and making the right offer deserves its own video, infrastructure deserves its own video, all these verticals deserve their own video. But if you've done all those things correctly, your copy should kind of write itself, meaning that your offer statement, you know how to phrase it, you know how to make the relevance line, so on and so forth. And we'll talk about all that right now. But one big mistake I see people making, because I made this, is not having a plan for what their campaign strategy is. They don't have a strategy for their campaign. They don't know if they're going to send a Loom campaign, a lead magnet campaign, a direct pitch campaign, and just straight up ask for the meeting, and why they're doing each. And another thing they don't do is test and see which one works best for their offer for their niche. So I like to test these in parallel. I usually like to do a direct pitch campaign and then do another campaign beside it, like a Loom campaign. If I'm doing it on behalf of clients, I usually like to do a direct pitch campaign. But most people go into their campaigns without a plan, and it means they're probably doing a direct pitch campaign. Most likely. And when you don't have a strategy for your campaign, it's very difficult to, it's hard to accurately judge your analytics. Because your analytics are based off of, they're relative to your campaign strategy. So you might get a 0.7% reply rate. You might get a 0.7% reply rate, which you might blame on deliverability issues in your infrastructure. But really, it's standard for your offer, for your niche, and for the kind of campaign you're running. So a direct pitch campaign. But if you were running a lead magnet campaign, for example, or a Loom campaign, and your reply rate's a 0.6 or 0.5, depending on the niche and all these things, all things considered, that might be subpar. See what I mean? So it's important to have to keep all this stuff, so all these metrics and reply rates in perspective, and it's hard to do when you don't have a perspective. In other words, when you don't have a campaign strategy. So pick a campaign strategy. When I say a campaign strategy, I mean a Loom campaign, a lead magnet campaign, a direct pitch campaign, and just keep the metrics in perspective. Lead magnets should have the highest reply rates. They should, if everything else, all else being the same. Then Loom campaign, then a direct pitch campaign. And you use them in different circumstances, and you test and see which one's the easiest for you to do, which one has the best responses. Like if my direct pitch campaign has a 1% reply rate, not stellar, but good enough to work with. But my positive reply rate is like a 30+%. So 1 in every 3 people that responds with interest. Well, then I'm doing a direct pitch campaign all day. Why am I wasting my time recording Looms? I just send more emails. See what I mean? So pick a campaign strategy. So let me start tallying these up so I don't forget. So we're at 10, 16, 17. So that was mistake number 17. Now let's keep going. We'll kind of speed through copy. These are pretty simple to understand. The next big thing I see people making, referring back to that terrible piece of copy that I put in my last video, that I was referring to in my last video, is they make the relevance line not relevant enough. So they'll start with the email with like some congratulations line instead of answering who are you and why are you reaching out. That's what you should be answering, is who are you and why are you reaching out? And why are you reaching out? And why now? I should put that in 3 steps because it gets a little confusing. So that's a relevance line, but they do something in the line that'll be like, congratulations on your recent success with blah 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 and blah 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 blah, and that stuff does not do anything. It doesn't answer any of these 3 questions. Easy way to make a relevance line is to just do one of these things. Comment on one of these things. If you're going to congratulate someone on something, congratulate them on one of these things here: recent funding, hiring activity, recent social media activity, or just mention how you found their company. You can be a normal human being. You'll be fine. It'll actually work out better for you that way. My copy is not out of this world, like poetic. I just write what I'd say to someone on the street in a simple enough way that my parents can understand it if they were to read it. But the relevance line isn't relevant. So that's the other mistake that they make. Offer statement, we talked about this already before, so I won't go over it. But long story short, to summarize again, they don't communicate the actual things in their offer that matter. So they don't communicate how this offer removes risk. They're scared to use words like guarantee because it's a spam word. So they don't communicate how their offer moves risk, meaning they don't mention a money back guarantee or that's performance based or anything like that. They don't mention anything about how it's easy on the client. And the fact that this isn't much of an undertaking for you because we do it for you automatically. You get meetings on autopilot. It's completely done for you. They don't mention any of these things. So now it sounds like a big headache for the person you're reaching out to. They don't mention the time frame. People don't mention the time frame. They don't set the expectations. Or they do set expectations saying, hey, I'll get you 10 meetings in 30 days, but they have no social proof, right? They have no social proof or anything like that. They mention social proof in the email, but when the person Googles you, they don't find anything. So you pretty much just made it up in their eyes. So that 10 meetings in 30 days, let's say you did all the targeting, right? For you're targeting boutique companies where 10 meetings a month, an extra 10 meetings a month is a lot. Because they close at a 20% rate, so they close 2 clients. at, let's say, $5,000 a piece. That's an extra $10,000 a month. So it's a lot for them. Let's say they're at $20,000 a month already. Well, you just increase their revenue by 50%. So that's a lot for them, right? I'm just having fun drawing this out. That's a lot. But it may not sound believable. Like maybe you set the expectation so high and the company is so small, and so it doesn't sound believable. Or you targeted a big company like Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley, and you came in with this offer right here, 10 meetings in 30 days, and it just sounds like a joke now. It went from sounding unbelievable and skeptical to now just sounding like a complete joke. So this is why the targeting matters, and knowing who you're talking about and what they care about matters so much. However, they don't set the right expectations. The right expectations will be set if you get all of this targeting stuff right and the offer stuff right. But you have to communicate this in the email. So this is like we help X company achieve Y result in Z time frame. And a lot of mistakes people make, and this is all under the offer statement, but they don't make the value obvious. Like, how does this save time, make them money? I did that in the wrong order. How does this make money, save them money, or save them time? So in that terrible piece of copy I wrote, I said, it was a template, so I didn't write it myself, but regardless, I sent it. I hit send. I help companies fill their calendar up with qualified prospects. So not companies, but so not executives, not telemedicine executives, but companies. I help telemedicine companies fill their calendar. Companies don't have calendars. People do. I should have said that in my last video. That's a great line. Companies don't have calendars. People do. And how does me filling your calendar up imply that it's going to make you money? I could be filling your calendar up with garbage meetings or fake meetings. So it doesn't, as much as you might think it makes the value obvious, it doesn't. You literally have to spell out what exactly you do, so that like a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old can understand it, or your parents can understand it if they were to read it. So that's the offer statement. When it comes to copy, that's why when you see these like cold email guys posting their templates on Twitter and saying, hey, this template's never going to go out of style. Well, they're able to make it work because they know what a proper offer statement looks like and how to adapt it. The problem is people just take templates, and this is its own mistake, is people take templates. This is mistake number 10, 16, 17, 18, 19, or 20, one of the two. People take templates and just expect them to work without understanding how or why they work. And each piece, each line in an email is its own art form, its own delicate thing, which is why I designed the framework like this. Because we can't just say, oh, your copy has to be great. How do you make your copy great? Well, campaign strategy. Well, what about campaign strategy? Well, Loom campaign, lead magnet campaigner, direct pitch, and 2 out of the 3 at one time, and why they work, and the problems you'll run into, and how to make sense of them. And then there's the actual 5 main lines in copy, or building blocks in copy, the relevance line, and then what you can do or how you can make it actually relevant, how to ask a question, how to frame an offer statement, what you need to communicate, social proof, how to pick the right company and verbiage for social proof. Like all these, this is how deep we go. And why I'm really proud of this thing. I digress. So that's the offer statement, and the fact. The other mistake was that people take templates and just use them blindly without understanding how or why they work. Next is social proof. So people just state things as social proof in an email as if that's supposed to make you, like, as if you're good after that. Right? Hey, last month we generated Walmart $56,000. We help Walmart generate $60,000 in the first 30 days of working with us. And you think that that's enough social proof. It's not. it doesn't count unless you have it published somewhere. I'm just being honest. Unless it's on your website, or unless you just have a ton of other social proof, or you have social presence, and we'll talk about this in campaign multipliers, the success multipliers. That line doesn't really mean much. Social proof line doesn't really mean much. It also doesn't mean that much if the company isn't in the same industry as you, unless it's like a Fortune 500, easily recognizable. So I helped Pepsi generate $100,000 last month. If you helped Pepsi generate $100,000 last month, why are you emailing me? Right? So you see how, right? So this line is worth having only if, or usually only if, the company is in the same industry as a prospect and you can actually state the company name. And then it ties in with all these other things, but more specifically, your social presence, or you can prove it in terms of social proof, ideally a client video testimonial or a case study internally, and you have it posted on your landing page. So that starts to build up the trust, and right, you can talk about it in your VSL as well. Alrighty, see how this all adds up? Great, often, awesome. I said often, awesome. So that's a social proof line. And then the call to action, most people tend to be fine with this, but a mistake I see people making is a call to action that isn't like interest based or meeting based. It's like, can you point me in the right direction? So you want me, let's just say I'm an imaginary CEO of a 50-person company. I have 50 employees, and you want me to help you, a person who I've never met. You want me to take my time to figure out what your issue is and what you want. Again, person I've never met, and point you in the right direction. So refer you over to one of my colleagues and waste their time. So not only do you want to waste my time, but you want to waste my colleagues' time. That's really what that is, if they even cared to read into it that much. But I read into things deeply, just naturally. And that's what that is, and that's why it doesn't work. It has to be a direct call to action, right? So an interest-based call to action. So are you open to learning more? Would you be interested in discussing further? Or would you be interested in seeing the video or seeing the Loom? Or would you like me to send over the lead magnet? So it's interest-based or it's meeting-based. Is this worth a quick chat? So interested in discussing further is kind of a mix of the two. It's a blend. Not that that makes it any better. Probably makes it less effective, to be honest, now that I think about it. But that's technically a meeting-based call to action. Are you interested in discussing further? Because we're talking about the discussion now. We're talking about the potential meeting. So the call to action isn't clear. It's a very weak call to action. I don't know if I noted that one down already. I gotta pull the transcript of this video once I upload it and probably edit the title, because I lost count of the mistakes which mistake we're on. Another mistake, not having an opt-out sequence. Include it. Not an unsubscribe link, not like click here to unsubscribe, but just something to this effect. Like, hey, if this is not aligned, just let me know and I'll stop emailing you. People don't have this. Instead, they have some gimmicky thing, some gimmick like sent from my iPhone. They have some gimmick like that. It doesn't work. Have an opt-out. Another mistake I see people make is, so essentially they do, when I was running emails, when I was completely new to cold email, I was doing the opposite of all of these, each individual block here. All these purple, yellow, blue, green, red blocks, I was doing the opposite. So people make mistakes. Like you see, I can technically have there's like 100 blocks here. So there can be like 100 different mistakes people make, technically. But I'm not that clickbaity, so I won't title the video that. But so they don't have an opt-out. And then they also have too many sequences in the email. I don't even like 3 sequences, 3 steps. I like 2. If you want to go to 3, sure, but so they have either too many sequences. They still do that thing where they send 7 emails in a sequence and then complain about their deliverability being bad. Well, obviously, because you're getting hit with spam. So after the 4th email, the dude's like, I can't keep sending you to the archive, and let me just hit spam. So you just go to the spam folder from now on. So they have too many emails in a sequence. And, or, in the call to action, they don't change the call to action. They don't change the call to action. The call to action should be adding more value. So with every email sequence. So if you're asking for a meeting on the first email, nobody answers. In the second email, offer to send a Loom, a video. They don't answer that. Say, if you still are sending 3 emails, which I wouldn't, but if you are, on the third one, offer to send them a free thing. Now, in one of my most successful campaigns, so to date, I kept the same CTA. It was a Loom campaign, but I offered way more clarity and value and kind of adjusted the offer too in the second email. So the second email was just like it was a beast. It was long. I don't think you should be like a loyalist to the 50-word email. It was longer. It was like 8 sentences or something like that. But every line served a purpose in terms of communicating and raising trust. Communicating the offer, raising trust, so on and so forth. So people make that mistake. One mistake I used to make is not adjusting the 48 hours, like two or 3 days between emails. You'd be surprised. People forget to check these little things before they hit launch campaign in SmartLead or instantly. Space out your emails at least 48 hours apart. Don't do the 1 day in between, because then you will end up in spam folders real quick. Take it from me. I've been in spam folders for a real long time. I was in spam folders more than I have more time being in people's spam folders than not being in people's spam folders. All right. Now, managing the actual campaign. I could make this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different mistakes people make, but I'll just group it into one, is they don't have a pre-launch checklist. A pre-campaign launch checklist. So what do I mean by that? They forget to spin tax everything. Spin tax everything. It's 2020. It's in 2025. You got to spin tax everything. Down to the greeting, down to the regards, down to the PS line. Google and Microsoft are actively updating their algorithms. They have full-time developers dedicated to figuring out how to fingerprint your emails and send you to spam, and recognize that it's you, recognize that it's spam, and throw it into the spam folder automatically without the person ever seeing it. Spin tax everything. It's easy to do. Just use ChatGPT. Second is people use a ton of spam words. Hey, sometimes I'll be honest. I like using the word refund. I like using the word guarantee. I like using the word new. Like if you go to mailmeteor.com and you type in the word new, it's technically a shady spam word. It's not. Let's be honest. The word new, like a new toy, a new service, come on, right? But regardless, some people miss this whole thing entirely. And when you have like 10 different spam words, that's when it starts to add up and compound. You can get away with a couple, but run it through spam words. Mistake people make is they don't do that. Most people are fine with the whole plain text thing. People forget to run spam tests. So that's a mistake they make. They don't run spell checks in Google Docs. So that's a mistake they make. I know this because I made this. Right? If you send cold emails, you've probably had a moment where you opened your inbox or opened up the replies and scrolled down to your original email that you sent and realized that you had a huge typo in there. People rush to send their campaigns. I recommend to sleep on it. They don't consider the fact that if they're sending globally and beyond the US, they don't consider the fact that these places operate in different time zones. So if you launch at 8 a.m., for example, in North America, or let's just say on the East Coast, that's getting to the UK. It's like 1 p.m. or something like that, their time. And if you send it to Australia, this is like, I don't know, 2 or 3 in the morning. Someone correct me on that. But it's like 8 a.m. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's like late night for Australia, or early morning or something like that. I don't know. Who am I? I don't know anything. I don't know what time it is there. So careful with that. There's a setting in Smart Lead and Instant Lead to be able to adjust that so that it sends in the right time zone based on who you're sending it to, I believe. Mistake people make is loafing, being too slow with their response times. Right? They pause their campaigns early. We're just going to speed through these. They don't have a proper conversion strategy, or they just don't follow up enough. They give up on follow-ups. And you know what? I'm considering limiting my follow-ups as well in subsequences. Because if someone's not answering after 6 or 7 responses, they're probably not someone you want to work with anyway. If we're just being honest, if we're just keeping it 100,000 million, they're probably not a client that you want to take on and work with anyway. Okay, so that's that. Now, success multipliers. Big mistake people make is they do it the old school route where they don't have any content or anything like that. And while I like that, it's very it makes it exponentially harder on you when you're first starting out because you're a nobody. You're a ghost. So Sam Ovens, Alex Becker, I look to those two for inspiration. When they first started their businesses, when Sam Ovens first started consulting.com, he didn't have much of a social presence. He was running ads, but he wasn't big on like Instagram or anything like that. Same with Alex Becker, because they believed, in just building the business and then coming on social media. And I like that. But this just makes it exponentially easier. Having social proof. If you don't have any client video testimonials, publishing internal case studies, tutorials like I do on my YouTube channel, how I would do X, right? How I would build a campaign for X niche. People don't have social presence, right? So it's very hard for you to position yourself as an expert and build enough trust for people to book a call with you, and then let alone, close on the call. They don't have a landing page. If they do have a landing, so that's another mistake. If they do have a landing page, they don't have a VSL, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 different mistakes. And then sales calls, they don't know what they're doing because they picked a niche they don't know. They can't speak well, but they don't have a script, or if they do, or they stick to a script too rigidly. I don't use a script. I just talk to people because I know my offer well enough. And it's just really understanding their situation, their problem, like what the pain point is, just knowing how to ask the right questions, right? There's only a few things that matter. Especially if you're doing lead generation, there's only a few reasons why people even want to get on a call with you. It's because their revenue's unpredictable. They don't want to do things themselves because they're time crunched. They can't do it at scale, whatever it is. They're working with an agency that hasn't really satisfied them or isn't up to par. It's that stuff. It's the same stuff all the time. So you just got to figure out what's wrong. Like why are you here on this call with me? And then if you can help them, you help them. You tell them what this implies, right? What they're going through, what that implies. And you say how you can help them, run the math, see if the math makes sense, and then you either sign them or you don't. But people don't have a proper sales process in place. So I'll make this one mistake, is they don't have a proper sales process in place. And so they don't close. Right now, I close at about 50%. Because I just do all this stuff. Analytics. I think the overall mistake people make is just not reading into their analytics and not adjusting their campaigns properly. So this deserves its own video, but they don't think deeply enough about analytics. Like, what a low reply rate might mean for this specific campaign, what a high positive reply rate means for this specific campaign, what a low positive reply rate would mean for the specific campaign, and why. Why are you getting minimal out of office replies? Well, it's because I sent the 4th of July weekend. All right. Do we have a conversion strategy? Is it working? No, like they don't accurately assess the highs and lows of their campaigns. What's working, what's not working. They don't do that stuff. So that's really the biggest mistake with analytics. So this was 5, 10, 15, 16, 20, at least 25, 26 mistakes. Probably if we count each individual square, like each one of these, this would be like 40 or 50 or 100. Who knows how many squares there are. However, to not be clickbaity, we'll leave it at that. So I'm just curious. Hold on. How many squares are there? There's 189. Go figure. All right. So I could have said 189 cold email mistakes you're probably making right now. Should I make that the title? Who knows? Anyway, I'll think about it. Anyway, guys, if you have a question, leave a comment. If you run a B2B business and you'd like us to set up and run and manage your cold email infrastructure for you, guarantee you that it works. If it doesn't, then you don't pay. Full 100% money back guarantee, legally binding contract, all good. Hit the link in my description. We'll get on a call. We'll chat, see if the math makes sense. I'll make you an offer, and then we can go from there. All right. See you guys in the next video. I'm out. Peace.